Know what, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing some thinking. I know, out of character, but I've been doing it nonetheless. And since we covered Fulgrim, we covered Mortarion, we covered Magnus, we covered Alfarius, and I was pretty harsh to each and every single one of them, I think I should probably take it a little easier on old Lorgar here. I couldn't say it with a straight face. Of course I'm not going to take it easy on him. This guy is the worst guy. Well, actually, he's the second worst guy, but we'll get to that later. Today is going to be fun. Every step up until this point right here and right now can be considered winding up for a punt straight to the nuggets of this overgrown Ultra Boy. We also get to take a look at two of the most hated characters in the Warhammer universe. So, as I said, we're going to have a grand old time. Fulgrim left us heartbroken, Mortarion left us disgusted, Magnus left us disappointed, Alfarius left us confused, but Lorgar, well, he sucks so hard some might consider him an easy target, and although they would be right, that's exactly why I intend to target him today. I used to fervently hate the guy until I realized everything associated with him was just hilariously pathetic. Hold on, I'm taking a sip out of this lemonade. Just give me a sec. Oh dear. Ooh, that is tart. Okay, anyway, back to it. This man will bend over backwards and crawl through broken glass for the opportunity to be manipulated by someone, all the while telling himself that he's the main character as he traverses the universe shelling out propaganda. Can you honestly be upset with something that sad? Honestly, all I'm trying to do right now is pace out the clock past 1 minute so I can start swearing without YouTube demonetizing me. And seeing as we're past that mark now, the rest of this will be incredibly crass and vulgar. You've been warned. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome to the bullying campaign of the Chaos God's communal fleshlight, Lorgar Aurelian. Lorgar came from humble beginnings on the planet Colchis. That is... well, that's far too nice. Let me take some artistic liberties here. This piss-warmed cue ball was shat onto the landscape of a planet named Colchis and got found by a guy named Fan Morgul. But Fan Morgul doesn't matter, because some 5'2" dick smoker named Cor Ferron killed his entire tribe and raised Lorgar for himself. It's well documented that Corphalus smacked around Lorgar as he grew up, and he was trying to groom him into being a pawn for the Chaos Gods because, as I implied earlier, he's a half-witted, taint-fondling homunculus. You should have put the bald little fucker in a microwave and suck-started a shotgun barrel if you ask me, but that's my personal opinion. Lorgar was pretty much doomed from the start. Suffering Stockholm Syndrome, he would go around preaching the word of the one true God, all the while Corphalus was disrespecting the man-child behind closed doors. It's not explicitly stated, but, I mean, it's kind of implied. Anyway, this planet was super volatile from a religious standpoint. The entire place pretty much devolved into one big Jerusalem. Everyone is screaming, "This is our stuff, the gods said we should be here," at everybody else. Lorgar, being a Primarch, was able to grab everyone by the collar, either dragging them into line or killing them, and eventually became king of the castle. It's really a shame his story didn't involve filleting his kidnapper. Most of the time it's adoptive father, but let's be real, this guy's a shitheel. At least for a brief moment in time, the filth-soaked ditch pig was denied his goals because Lorgar worshipped the Emperor of Mankind as a god, but that ends up going about as well as pissing into a wind turbine 5 minutes from now. Screw it, might as well talk about that now. Something that is not often touched on, unlike young Lorgar, is that despite all of the grandeur and the fanfare, the Emperor is not a divine being, nor does he want to be. The guy's actually a balls-to-the-wall atheist, because in Warhammer, collective belief can ultimately provide godlike power. But it can also work incredibly negatively. Whatever enough people think will happen to your ass. The mass hysteria is real. So you can imagine how pleased he was when he showed up to a planet where fucking everyone thought he was a god because of Lorgar. He wasn't. As far as Lorgar's work underneath the Emperor, he was not pleased one goddamn bit because Lorgar kept doing preacher shit when he was supposed to be doing warlord shit. Every single board meeting was just the Emperor telling him, "Hey, sack breath. Get your dick beaters off that pen and onto a gun before I turn you into a late-term abortion." Regardless of how many times he was told not to, Reverend Shitpants over here decided to go full fanfic and wrote a space bible called My Cool Dad, or whatever the hell it's named. In case you think this is being well-intentioned and it justifies the complication it creates, I'll explain it in a way that anyone can understand. It's like telling a child to stop using the stove without supervision. Then you come home from work one day to see your house burned down to the ground because your little fuck trophy wanted to make you chicken nuggets. Oh, and your kid is 32 years old and completely mentally competent. Wow, buddy, what a nice sentiment, but it does not excuse you from the fact that you just took everything I've been working toward my entire existence, shot it in the head, put it in a burlap sack, dragged that fucker down several flights of stairs, and then dropped a goddamn vending machine on top of it. Because that's really what Lorgar did. Lorgar had two jobs, two incredibly simple jobs. You don't start a religion based off of Dad, and you keep your fucking feet off the sofa. He failed miserably at both. For his transgression, Dad got Rebute to incinerate Lorgar's little pet project on the planet of Monarchia. Now here's the part that just rustles my goddamn jimmies. He doesn't like the Emperor after this. Fair enough. I can see why. Entirely reasonable. I get it. But then, this mouth-breathing pit sniffer hits an about-face and sprints headfirst back into his old abusive father's lap. Oh, and some meth head named Erebus. He's another one of those gets-his-own-story kind of deals in the future. All you need to know is fuck that guy. That guy is generally considered the worst guy. So, these two hideous butt pirates get that tear-streaked Neanderthal to start carrying around the bags for the Chaos Gods, because, oh no, Lorgar the Primarch can't fathom a universe in which he isn't preoccupied being a goddamn henchman. We're all familiar that the Primarchs are essentially demigods, right? Each and every other brother has a raging hard-on for being a control freak. Meanwhile, this piss wizard is down on his knees begging for anyone to tell him what to do. If you gave this motherfucker a tree frog with Google Translate, Dick Nuts would be worshipping it in a week. He's the kind of person that gets bit in a zombie apocalypse and doesn't tell anyone. So Tweedle Dickhead and Tweedle Dumbfuck convince him to go get chatted up by a few demons, and then he just goes full tilt on worshipping chaos. Now, unlike the standard Chaos Marines, Lorgar and his legion, the Word Bearers, work for all four of the Chaos Gods, not necessarily any particular one. Lorgar then conspires to get Horus stabbed with the fabled poop knife. Horus pretty much dies and then goes on to become the champion of chaos. At the time, Horus was established as the War Master and had the best people skills out of all the Primarchs, along with being a top-tier general, so he was pretty much able to convince several other Primarchs to join him with relative ease. Speeding up events to the first battle on Isstvan V, Lorgar gets disemboweled by Corvus Corax and is left screaming for his life to be spared. Fortunately for him, a worth-a-fuck combatant in Conrad Kurz intervened, and this stain on humanity would live on. As a general rule, Lorgar is pretty much at the absolute bottom of the pile when it comes to combat-ready Primarchs, and after that whole situation, his next big task is creating a space hurricane and visiting Rebute. On the planet of Calth, the Word Bearers would properly fuck up Rebute and his Ultramarines, but they would soon after have the script flipped on them and get suplexed into cement. Lorgar was already busy in Rebute's territory by then, and although he normally wouldn't have done much because it's Lorgar, he never does much, Angron had come with, so he's actually got a capable fighting force now. Although neither are exactly considered good generals, Angron was pissed, so barring 3 specific circumstances that involve a Primarch, he wasn't going to be stopped. Lorgar would face off with Rebute on the planet of Nuceria as Angron was off on his killing spree, and in this magnificent clash of mediocre fighters, they would stalemate. Rebute is a good general, but as much as it pains me to say it, he's just blue Lorgar with plot armor when it comes to throwing hands. However, that plot armor did not kick in today, because it was Angron's time to shine. That bronze-coated meat castle dog-walked Rebute 6 ways to Sunday and right through the weekend. In the midst of all his frenzied slashing and yelling, Lorgar would use all of the rage and bloodshed that surrounded them to transform Angron into a demon prince, and that's really all you need to know for this segment. On the subject of demon princes, he also had a bit of a scrap with the newly demonic Fulgrim. Here's the thing about demons that I'll probably reiterate maybe one more time throughout the existence of this channel because it doesn't come up that often. If you know the true name of a demon, you can effectively enslave them. There's some weird caveat to it regarding amnesia. Someone can explain it in the comments. As of right now, it's not imperative. Lorgar got one of his lackeys because of that amnesia thing, and surprising because that's usually his job, to use Fulgrim's demon name to control him. The reason he bothered doing this was twofold. One, Fulgrim was fucking around, not in the war, and they needed him back. Two, because he was going to use Fulgrim in an attempt to assassinate Horus and become the new head honcho for Chaos. Because, you know, this useless goddamn milksop would totally be the next choice given his complete inability to fight or lead in any capacity. Obviously, this did not work, and the assassination attempt went a little like this. Horus, your reign is over, Horus. I will make your headless corpse a pincushion for demon dicks if you ever breathe near me again. And Lorgar's dumbass didn't listen like usual, and to make a long story short, he was left with more bruises than a Chris Brown groupie. While he was on the ground, coming to terms with the fact that he will be shitting out his own teeth tomorrow, Horus banned him from participation in the war. After having to watch the conclusion of the war on pay-per-view, he became a demon prince and locked himself in a tower to write more fan fiction for the next 10,000 years. However, there was a moment where he tried to touch grass, and Corvus came back. Okay, look, he didn't just visit. He almost put Lorgar on a fucking milk carton and promised to be the death of him and every last entity of chaos in the universe, which is... it was pretty intense. Lorgar spent several hundred more years in hiding because of this, but now he's out and about. There's been sightings of him spreading chaos gospel like some kind of shit-spewing megaphone, but if we know Lorgar, we know what's in store. More of him getting helplessly dragged through the mud by his ankles just like today. If you don't fully grasp why Lorgar is the worst, it's because without Lorgar, you don't have all the shitty Chaos Primarchs. He had to be a prick first in order for all of them to turn into one. So, hopefully you enjoyed today's spitting in the eye of the chosen dumbass. If you didn't, and you like Lorgar, reassess your life choices, you make copious poor ones. Jesus Christ, he's just such a wimp. Anyway, next time you'll hear from me, we'll have Horus on deck, and that's gonna be interesting. It's the moment this has all been prepping for, because I couldn't give his story without all of these. That's enough out of me, though. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night.